how are you?
Hi Heidi, I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thanks ever so much for taking the time to speak to me.
That's no problem.
So, Biomechanics Summer School this year in June, you're talking more specifically about the prescription of orthoses. So,
Yeah.
is there any research out there in particular which would really change your approach to orthotic prescription?
Obviously, earlier on in my career, I was heavily influenced by Kevin Kirby's writings, which completely changed the way I practiced, really, because we'd been taught a routine approach. And when I read Kevin's work, it really sang to me, because I'd studied A-level mechanics and physics, so it actually put the physics back into the biomechanics for me. More recently, and without sounding too conceited, my own research with finite element analysis taught me a great deal, because I was able to model various foot orthosis prescriptions and actually see what was happening on the sort of macro level there, really. And I learnt probably more from that than from anything else I've ever read, which, as I say, sounds conceited, but it's almost if we think about the psychoanalyst Carl Rogers, he said that the deepest form of learning was this experiential learning. So this self-discovered learning of my own actually taught me more perhaps about foot orthosis and got me thinking about how I prescribe them than anything I've read in a journal.
Right, so very much about being hands-on. I mean, do you think sometimes we get a little bit too caught up in the research when it comes to actually treating the patient there in front of us?
I think obviously research has to inform clinical practice, but we also need to critically engage with that research rather than dogmatically adhering to what it's saying. And we need to sort of look behind below the surface of the research, really, because quite often foot orthosis research is not really where we want it to be. It's very difficult to carry out good quality foot orthosis research, not least because it's hard to put anything in the shoe which isn't going to influence the forces acting on the foot. So it's very difficult to develop sham devices and placebo devices. And also, because we now have a better handle on how foot orthoses work, and we understand that they're not necessarily changing the kinematics, the position and the motion of the foot, but rather they're changing the forces and the stresses on the tissues within the foot. It's very difficult to actually measure those changes in stresses within the tissues in vivo. So when we perform research studies using foot orthoses, we don't know that we're affecting all of the subjects in the same manner, and that there's very much we know that the response to foot orthosis is very unique to the individuals. So effectively, at best, really, at the moment, what we're doing with our foot orthosis research, if we're using custom devices within that study, then really it's a series of n=1 case studies, because by their very nature, custom orthoses are all different. So we're not necessarily delivering the same changes in kinetics across the group. And obviously, even when we use, say, a prefabricated device, so all the patients are getting the same devices, again, their responses to those devices are going to be unique to the individual. Does that make sense?
It does. It's very individualised, isn't it? And I think
and I think that this is what we're starting to understand. And in fact, Trevor Pryor and I, we were talking about planning our workshop for the summer school the other day. Well, one of the things that we're hoping to show is this subject-specific response to the orthosis prescription. So we might take a couple of subjects and give them the same orthosis design, and what we're expecting to see is that actually the individuals may respond completely differently to that, or they may respond the same, but we never know, and that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at within the workshop.
So yeah, that'd be very interesting to see that. Well, we're just coming to the end of our time now, so thank you very much, Simon, and we look